Okay. Hi, everybody. Now, can everyone give me the good thumbs up that you can hear me? Because, wow, this is good. My computer, everything crashed about 30 seconds ago. All right, I can't hear you guys, though. So.
It's just because we haven't been talking yet, I believe.
Oh, gosh.
Hello.
The blonde hair just came through, thick and strong.
We couldn't get a word in sideways with you starting up, Jasmine.
Sometimes I just shouldn't have an afternoon coffee. Well, welcome everybody. I'm about to introduce our fabulous team tonight. But most importantly, I just want to check in and say hello and how is everyone today? And where are we all from? I'm just looking at some of the names. And everyone, hi Aiden, how are you? How is everyone? And welcome to today. Well, we've got a really, really special lineup tonight, and I'm sure you've seen our beautiful Grace Black from Global Wealth Club, and she's down in Albany. So hi, Grace. We've got our one and only Connor Marshall tonight as well. That's him. Hello. He's not talking. Yep. Oh, see, we just don't know if he's saying.
I'm just letting you take the show today, Jasmine. It's been so long since you've been on with everyone on a Wednesday, so why not let you take it?
I'm almost nervous, guys. Well, Connor is, as a part of our team, and also he worked with this gentleman who's on tonight prior in another kind of role, which was PT. We've got Mr. Mike Thornton here tonight. So welcome. Thank you for coming.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, guys, I just want to kind of set up what it's all about tonight, but what we really want to do is let Mike introduce himself just briefly so we have a little bit of a background. You would have likely, if you've been a part of the Awakening Within and some of our other programs, would have seen him as well. But Mike, you've done, you're a quantum psychologist, you're a former PT, you're right into your remote viewing, and I know Grace knows all about that. That's why she's here to really just give her piece tonight. Could you just...
That's scary, Jasmine. That's scary. Don't put that on me.
No, she's not. Only if she wants to. We don't pressure anyone here, but Grace, you must do it. We have full control over you tonight.
Pressure.
Yeah, and Connor and I are just here simply because we're good looking and we have nothing to add to this, really.
No, I've said everything useful I have to say over the last 3 weeks, so now I'm just here to smile on camera.
Exactly. So welcome tonight. Mike, take away, let us know who you are. Just give us a bit of your energy and what you're all about, because you're going to be presenting in the next week for us.
All right. Thank you, Jazz. That was a great little intro. Quantum psychologist. I'm going to take that title and keep it. So I guess I'll go all the way back. I started out my PT career back in 2012 when I was 19 years old. And yeah, probably after sort of, working on a cruise ship, running my own business as a subcontractor, that's where I met Connor. I sort of got to the point where I was busy enough to take on another trainer to take on sessions. So, I was growing that way. And then probably around about a year and a half into that, that's when we met Warren, and saw Warren as a client. Connor started training Warren. And I realized pretty quickly that my interest was sort of beyond the physical, if you like, and it sort of felt like I'd mastered the nutrition, the training, all that kind of stuff, and then sort of started to get exposed to energy and how that works through Warren and his mastermind. So it was around about the beginning of 2017 or sort of late 2016 when I had my first clearing with Warren, which Connor was on there as well. And at the time, I actually had another staff member who I was wanting to move on from. And I used that as sort of what I wanted to clear. Anyway, long story short, that it all sort of cleared without any effort, really. It sort of all worked out how it should. And that was kind of my first exposure into, okay, there's a bit of a world outside of everything we see. And I've always sort of felt like I've had that inner intuition. I wouldn't consider myself I would say I have a psychic ability, but I just kind of had that feeling that there was something more going on, if you like. And then that's when it sort of set through this cascade of events that sort of where my life changed dramatically come April 2017, which is when I went to Europe Vegas. Vegas is in Europe, apparently. Vegas, and that's when I first learnt remote viewing and realised there was a way of actually getting information from the probable future and actually starting to use it to profit from. So yeah, from 2017 onwards, life's been a pretty changing pretty fast. I realized pretty quickly I needed to, for what I wanted to teach and how I wanted to impact people beyond the physical, I realized I needed to get some kind of sort of solid qualification behind me to be able to reach more people. And I did that and finished my psychology degree at the end of last year. So I only finished it I didn't sort of go on to get like APRA registration or anything like that, because then I felt like I was going to be confined to their limitations and, diagnosing and all that kind of stuff, which I personally don't agree with in terms of a lot of it, in terms of the framework that's around it. But, I have the freedom now to, be able to teach things like energy and how that comes in and how we can link that in with, mindset and how we can sort of get to our limiting beliefs and, start to uncover our deeper layers of programming so we can actually start to attract in, the life and create the life that we want. So that's probably the very brief, short story of how it's all come about. But yeah, it's sort of, where I'm at now. I do get the opportunity to be able to teach people about this, which is really cool.
Yeah. So you've broken the rule about what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You've just let it out to the whole world, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess going into a little bit about that, me and Warren and obviously the boys went as well. We went to Vegas, and it was kind of a funny little event. I was at a time in business where I was struggling a little bit. And by struggling, I mean, I was like financially like, fuck, like how am I making ends meet kind of thing. And it just kind of all sort of fell in my lap where the opportunity came up to go to Vegas, didn't have the money to do it. The universe delivered a way for it to happen, and ended up in Vegas and learning about it and learning from a guy who's obviously quite a master in energy and manifestation and clearing and remote viewing itself. But that sort of taught me like how possible it is to just literally use your mind to become sovereign. And harness the power of, the universe, if you like, the quantum realm, to create everything that you want. I mean, you are everything in your life right now is a current reflection of everything internally for you. So being able to become super hyper self-aware of everything that's going on, inside of you and where it comes from, all your deeper programming from parents, trauma, all those kind of things, they're all sort of the things that are shaping in the world that you're living currently. So yeah, so that course for me was massive. I mean, that's the one course in my life I could say. I mean, I've done a lot of good courses, but that was like the full internal shift of like everything. Nothing else was the same when I learned that. And it became even harder to train people after that in a PT realm, because it was like all these sort of things like training, nutrition. It was like you don't get it. Like there's more to it. Like there's a bigger picture to all of this, So so that's kind of got me out of that.
Nah, that's awesome. So, and I guess the big thing here is you can also put in the chat Q&A, by the way, if you've got any particular questions tonight, we'll get to them. But it's all well and good to go do a course, but to actually put that into application into your own life, is that something that you did straight away? Did it take a little bit of time for you to be able to integrate that? I'm going to get Grace to chime in on this afterwards, but just more for you and your personal experience, because I would dare say that there are many people that, really are taking on this sovereignty journey right now, especially Global Wealth Club members and people that watch us, and they could just be hitting that block and they're just continuing to not get past a certain level. And I would probably say a lot of it is to do with their mindset. And, if we've got financial blockages or a perception of something, we really need to be able to break through. So was that your experience? Was it doable on your own, or did you really need a mentor to really help you initially?
Yeah, so I mean, I had obviously the mentor. I had a great mentor in Warren, and still have a great mentor in Warren. So he's been amazing over the years, being able to, we've come and gone from each other's lives and training and fallen back. I mean, I just can't seem to shake him. He keeps coming back. That seems to be my deeper programming is attracting him in.
He's on a plane, by the way, so we can say this. He's not watching. Everyone, go for it.
Yeah, so it's been really good having that. So I've had probably mainly two mentors in that space. But in terms of remote viewing, being the thing I've been drawn to. I mean, the whole concept of being able to like learning about the quantum realm in terms of how nothing, not the past, future, present, it's all the same thing. So that was when I first learned that, like, and how, you know, quantum physics has now proved that time and space are not linear, like it is, quantum physics is the go-to theory. So that for me, being the idea of being able to get information out of the future, if you like, to then use for profit or use for just overall having that edge, that for me, that's like, it's been a black hole I've been sucked to that I just can't get out of, because it's just curiosity. So like manifestation clearings, like the way I look at it is kind of sort of probably three prongs. There's the clearings, you know, you clear your etheric body. I'm sure plenty of people in here have done clearings with Will or Warren or Grace. So there's that, and then there's sort of manifestation, which is sort of all about being able to create your own reality with your own thoughts, and that, you know, bring it into the physical a lot quicker. But then there's the other prong, which is kind of remote viewing, which does work hand in hand with all of it. But I have, you know, really chosen to sort of stay in that sort of remote viewing space. But yeah, I mean, I have obviously needed a mentor the whole way, not the whole way through, but come and gone with mentors. You're always going to work faster with a mentor. Yes. But it's, you know, I have, ever since I learned it, it's been pretty much a daily thing, practicing it, which I still look back and I'm like, it's 5.5 years in, and I'm like, I don't really know how I still have. I used to get bored very quickly, put it that way. So to still have the same passion I had 5.5 years ago when I learned it is, you know, I know that that's what I should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Grace, do you want to let us know kind of, you know, because I guess the last 3 years, not I guess, we all know it's been war on the people worldwide, you know, spiritually, physically, in every sort of sense, everyone has been attacked, you know, whether you want to say it's the government, whether you want to say it to your neighbor, you know, for dobbing on, if you're not wearing a face nappy, or just for the fact that you weren't able to work anymore, you know, all these things. And Grace, you know very well, when you first met me, well, the second time you met me after, you know, years of not seeing each other, I was in a whirlwind of really fighting what was happening, wasn't I?
Absolutely.
And I was like, yes, you were. Mike, you probably.
Well,
and you know,
hang on, we lost.
I haven't been here for a while. Ooh, no, am I back?
You're coming and going as you please, Jazz.
That's what I do. Am I stable now? I don't know what happened there.
No, you're good now. You're playing in the parallel universe, Jasmine.
Oh, see, I'm just remote doing something. So Grace, I just wanted you to give, you know, your perception on what's happened, especially in the quantum field, and that's your expertise and energy, how people can kind of take a step back now and really call it for what it is and start to prepare more in the mindset and for what's to come, because there's a lot more to come, right?
Because I mean, when you look at the human evolution, when you look at the human beings, and most of the people here, the names that I see recognised, you know, Stephen Petit talks about the cycle of humanity, and even Graves, he talks about the essence of where we are as humanity. It's part of the empire, goes up, down, sideways and everything. So it's part of our evolution. When you look at nature, we have winter, spring, summer, etc. It's all got the seasons. So we all have seasons in our own personal lives. We just don't recognize it. Most of us are not, you know, aware of it. But working in the energy field, you know, I've been guided intuitively since I was a child, really. And so I didn't have a label for it or anything like that. But I guess I've lived longer than you, Jasmine, in this life. But the way I see it is, there has to be growth, you know, whether you're into personal development or not. And, you know, we look at the business life, you look at your personal life, you know, when you get married, then you have children, everything in every area of our life, there's growth. And so the way I see it, there's energetically in the energy field, there's growth. We have to grow, isn't it? It's part of our development.
Yeah.
And in that development, there has to be chaos. And in the chaos, before spring cleaning, you know, when I used to do spring cleaning in the house, chaos would happen in my house. You put everything in the center, And then to have it cleaned out, in order to have that spring cleaning, you need to see all the messiness. And so right now, when you look at it with our communication, our telecommunication is moving so fast as well. So everything is just moving fast, technology, everything that we're living in our society right now, it's moving into that. So in some sense, depending on your perspective, it could be fearful or there's so many opportunities.
Yes.
So depending on which side you're sitting energetically. So again, if we are to come back to the quantum or to the energy, you're either moving in fear or you move in love. And there's both evolution. So I guess that's a kind of a longer explanation.
No, that's perfect. I mean, Connor and I really don't want to add too much here, that's for sure.
No.
All I can say.
A quick question, Jazz, that I would like asking Mike and Grace. So Mike and Grace, obviously open to both of you, but it's very normal in, you know, business to even look at like traditional markets, and there's always ups and downs. So, you know, obviously you guys have a lot of time around the mental space of things and energy. Does that type of area of people's lives reflect in the same way? Like, I know you're just saying we go through these seasons, Grace, but I'm assuming when you're going through something like trying to change your mindset, it's probably not going to be a smooth journey like a lot of people think it is. You don't just wake up overnight and everything's fixed and you have the right mindset. So, you know, do you have any comments on that, and maybe anything that you could help people that are trying to shift that mindset into something more aligned with where they want to go?
Sure. It always excites me talking to trader like you, Connor. You know, you show me the graphs and Shaquille, those who've listened to Shaquille and Derek Whitaker, I find it really fascinating because part of the emotions is we do go up and down. Our emotions are going up and down because it's all energy, right? And whatever triggers us, and it's that volatility. And when you look at the trading, it's the volatility. So right now, you either go sideways, moving in fear. And so it's so relatable with the trading into the emotions of the society. And and so it's the same thing in the development in your energy and your mindset. The thing is, you know, if you really if you look at the farmers, for example, they don't get you know, they don't get hassled. They're like, okay, it is what it is. And they rely on nature. They rely on the weather. But can they do anything about it? Maybe, unless they're shamans and they can do the rainwater thing. But the point is, the first thing is really get to know who you are emotionally, mentally, and be kind to yourself. The first and foremost is really be kind to yourself, and that there is change. You know, you watch your child. For those who have children here, I know with my 4 boys, they certainly went through growth. The growing pains, and you know, from being in my womb to where they are today, there's growth. And if you look at it like that you just be relaxed and not attached to all those things, the ups and downs, that it is what it is. That's all I can say. I can honestly share that if you detach yourself from all that, because really most of our sufferings is because we are attached. We are attached to stuff, as Buddha says. That's our suffering. So if we learn to surrender and let go quickly and allow the universe and trust in the universe and trust in yourself and in your inner voice, things will come out. Things will calm down and things will come into order without doing nothing.
I love that, Grace. I love that.
Yeah, definitely the attachment to everything and the outcomes and your expectations. I think that's beautiful. That's really, really good. Now, I just want to mention, you know, we did a survey about 5-6 weeks ago, and it was an overwhelming response for, you know, we were asking what really everyone was really looking for help and guidance for. And the greatest answer that we got was really around asset protection and protecting everything that you've worked so hard for. People are really fearing that the government are going to come in, you know, to take their money, take their cash, their property. And realistically, there's a lot of unknown in that space. So we really want to help people prepare, and we will be doing that next week on the 16th of July at our live event. And that's where Mike is going to be speaking as well, and Connor. But, you know, I guess tonight was just a little bit more around, you know, the manifestation mindset, because it's just as important as the practical steps of, you know, getting a good accountant, getting a good good consulting in your finances and putting asset protection in place. Could you explain a little bit where that fits in, Mike and Grace? Because I think some people may think, well, why are we even talking about this when it comes to protecting our assets? But obviously it's a massive part of it. And I think it's a part that people, if they can tap into, it's life-changing.
You want to take on board, Mike? Or
Yeah. Excuse me. Still got COVID cough. I would say, well, look, I mean, it's the biggest thing. Obviously, people are living in fear, right? Like, people are not only in the last 2 or 3 years or however long it's been since COVID came along, but right from when we're young, we're conditioned to be fearful. You know, you think about the things we're told as kids, you know, the standard things that we get told, you know, money doesn't grow on trees, you know, all these kind of things. We can't have this, we can't have that, we can't afford that. Like, most of us grow up in that, you know, in that realm, like we're told those kind of things, so we believe them. So we immediately have this fear that we carry through life, and, you know, things are got. If you want to work for something, you know, you got to struggle, you got to sacrifice, you got to push through all the shit, basically. Like, all these mindsets that are, or programmings that are put into you as a young kid, just make life exactly that for you when it really shouldn't be. You know, the default setting of the universe is abundance. So the fact that we get conditioned to think otherwise goes completely against being aligned with the universe and working in flow with it. So, you know, all this fear around asset protection and all this kind of thing, like, at the end of the day, like, this fear is coming from a place of needing to control everything, right? Like, people, like you said, over attachment to an outcome, or expecting things are going to turn out in a different way than they do, or all these kind of forms of attachment to an external outcome. You know, when you attach things to an external outcome, circumstance, person, thing, object, whatever, you're operating from a place of ego, right? Like, you're not operating from a place of self. So people need to get back to self. They really need to figure out who they are as a person, what their purpose is, you know, how they're going to serve humanity with their unique talents and skills. You know, what would they do? What would they do if they didn't have any money? Like, do they people that are needing to protect all their assets that they value so highly? You know, what kind of person are they if they don't have any of that? You know, like, the reality is it could happen tomorrow. Then who are you? Like, have you wrapped your identity up so far in those external things that you don't even know who you are if you take it away? Yeah, these are the kind of hard, confronting questions that people have to ask themselves. Because at the end of the day, I believe wealth is a mindset. You know, you can be completely,
That's awesome.
Extremely rich people who have tons of money, but they live in this state of fear. They live in this state of lack. They don't have enough. They're always wanting more, right? Like, they're always chasing that, you know, that banknote. It's like, God, like, stop, be present. Like, actually, you know, have gratitude for what you have, be appreciative, show genuine appreciation for what you have. Everyone's so wrapped up. Everyone is so wrapped up in what could go wrong, what's going to go wrong, what may go wrong. It's just like, well, it's okay. Just take 5 seconds. Is anything going wrong right now in the present? No. Like,
yeah.
It's a real, like, it takes a lot of, like, training. But I do believe that, like, when people can actually detach from that and have that ability to, like, put their ego aside and say, look, I have got my identity wrapped up in all these external things. And don't get me wrong, being wealthy and sovereign is very important. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm saying being overly attached to it.
Yes.
You know, being rich, being asset protection is just one frame of being wealthy, right? Like, well, I believe anyway.
Yeah.
I just want to, I want to add to that too, Mike, is depending of, you know, where you plan to play the game. For example, for myself, setting up Global Wealth Club with Warren and all our other company entities, for me, I really want to play in the big playground. To play in the playground, I have to know the rules. Now, in knowing the rules, do I have to know the techie, I'm not a technical person either. I'm more into the heart and the quantum and the energy work, but I can create that team because we are manifestors and we can create the team. So for me, creating that team around me is important. Who can talk to me about asset protection? Who can talk to me about structures? Who can talk? Yes. So the playground I choose to play is, hey, this planet's still big. planet Earth, as well as the when you go out of the planet, you got the cosmos and everything. I want to be able to play in the big playground, so I have to know the rules, and how do I go about it. And so part of me with part of it is just asset protection. Asset protection to you. Playing Monopoly, you don't want your hotels to be taken by Connor or Mike or Jasmine here. I want to be able to secure that. And so to me, it's just one of those things that it's just part of the rules. If I plan to play in that big playground, I've got to know. And so it's just no brainer that, hey, that's something I need to do.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it should be these kind of things, like, it shouldn't take a worldwide pandemic for people to be thinking about that kind of stuff. Like it should, like you said, it should be part of the wealth programming. If you want to have endless amounts of wealth, and that actually needs to be part of your cycle. So it's definitely, obviously, massive part of it.
Part of wealth creation, wealth building, and we're here to build, so therefore we got to set that structure around us, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize as well. We always talk about asset protection, like Mike's saying, from a very tangible standpoint. But, this is one thing I've heard a lot of the time. Your mind, or your brain, whatever you want to call it, is your greatest asset. So when you're asking, Jazz, like, are people wondering, how does this fit in the overall picture? It's like, if Elon Musk went broke tomorrow, he would be a billionaire within a few years again, because he's got the mindset and he's got the know-how on how to do that. So if people are wondering, how does this fit in? It's like, whatever happens, your mind is literally the only thing you can be guaranteed you're going to be left with at the end of the day. So why wouldn't you be putting that at the forefront of what you're trying to develop first and protect the most?
That's so true, Connor. I mean, from personal experience, I share with everyone here. I'm sure Warren has shared that as well. We've boomed and we've crashed. We've had millions of dollars come our way. We went down to $65. But again, it's the fun of playing the game. And, we know how to make money. We know the rules. So let's just get back in the trenches and build that again. So, because once you know how to actually build your wealth, and you've got the mindset, you've got the team, you've got the attitude, and you've got the vision, then nothing is stopped. So, I was talking to Warren again today. Hey, Warren, there's nothing stopping us, is there? We just keep going, and we keep going into the trenches, because we've been through this before. We've been up and down. And that goes with anybody. So once you know how to build the wealth creation, once you've set your mindset, and you, as Mike said, you've got your mentors and you've got your team around you, all things are possible. It's just a matter of just getting there and just that focus and discipline, and never give up.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also, from what I can understand, it's really about, and what you said before, Mike, when people have got limiting beliefs, or they've got stories they've been told from a very young age, I remember that saying, money doesn't grow on trees, or don't do that. That's a waste of money. That's a waste of time. And these things, like, I think that right now it's a really important time to know what you want. Because if you know what you want, and you actually know it's what you want and not what you've kind of been led to believe, I think it's a really good time to probably look at that. So is that what you're going to also be covering a little bit around at the event next weekend, around, remote viewing, manifestation and clearing, but getting a clear mindset on what you truly do want and what you want to manifest? Because I bet you, look at COVID and what happened, people are very disconnected to themselves, their heart, their truth, because they're scared, or they're worried that their family member's going to say, why would you want to be a millionaire? Like, why would you want all that money for what? You're greedy, So I just wondering if that's something that will come up and you see a lot. Anyone can really speak on this.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's not getting clear on what you want, but it's also getting clear on who you are and the person you need to be to get what you want, right? Because most people, like, it's the whole be, do, have sort of whatever it is thing, right? You got to figure out what you want, but also you got to backtrack and go, right, well, there's the action steps that I need to get what I want, but there's also the kind of person that I need to be to take those action steps to then get what I want. Like, you can't go do, have, do, be. Like, it's got to be the other way around, because otherwise you're just getting stuff for the sake of it with no purpose behind it. So I think like you said, most people don't know who they are. They don't know what their purpose is. No one's really sort of actually which is why money is it's so important to create wealth, right? Because the greatest question around purpose is, what would you be doing if money wasn't an issue? That's the greatest question about purpose to ask yourself, right? Like I ask myself that question all the time. Like I still feel like, I know what my passion is. I know what I love teaching, and I feel like that's my purpose. But then I'm like, oh, all right, well, if I had $1 billion in the bank, would I just play golf all day? Like, well, what's the go? Like, so I think it's you really do have to always sort of, ask yourself that question. Like, what would I be doing? And what's the kind of person I want to be? What's the kind of role model I want to be for the people around me, for my kids? Like, it's certainly changed for me since I had my daughter. Like, your whole mindset completely changes again about, what kind of person you are. So, yeah, I think people doing that hard, difficult work, uncovering those limiting beliefs, uncovering those things about themselves that they don't, that maybe they suppress, those emotions they suppress, those emotions they think are bad, all these kind of things that trigger them, and really getting to the core of like where all this patterning and programming comes from. That will help people be a lot more, sort of neutral and perceptive to themselves. And again, like Grace said, being kind to themselves. Like, we fall into this trap all the time of expectation from people around us, society, that kind of thing. And we are generally our own worst critic, right? Like there's a good question. I can't remember who it was. The guy out of Prison Break. He did an interview once. He said, if his psychologist asked him, if you spoke to your best friends the way that you speak to yourself, would your best friends still be your best friends? And I thought it was really a really good question to ask, because most of us speak to ourselves like absolute shit, right? Like, our internal dialogue is, it's filled with guilt, shame, resentment, all that kind of stuff that we talk to ourselves about. So I think that's a really good place to start too, is like Grace said, being kind to ourselves, being really aware of our own self inner talk, because that's, super important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that, Mike, and it's good the way you talk about, purpose. And I think that's something that's always evolving for people. And I read the book, The Way of the Superior Man, and I really like how they describe purpose in that. And they describe it as kind of like the center of a tree, and you have all these concentric rings, and they say you'll go through life always thinking that you've figured out your purpose. And once you've completed that purpose, it slowly fades away and you move to that next layer, which is ultimately deeper. But they say you got a long journey to go before you really find out what that true purpose is. And along the way, there's going to be a lot of times where you feel like you make it, but then you completely empty the next day in pursuit of that new purpose.
Absolutely. Well, and it's always going to be changed. Like you said, it's never going to feel, excuse me, nothing ever feels like you expect it to when you finally get there, does it? It's always an anti-climax, like it's, I know for me, like, I finished my degree and I was like, oh, cool. Now what? Sounds like it's back to basics.
Right, is there anything else?
So it's like you said, it's always changing. It's always, I mean, that's why it's so important to, again, not being focused on the outcome, right? Like it's the journey. It's as cliche as it sounds. It's the joy and happiness on the journey that's the most important thing. Because if it doesn't bring you happiness or joy, like, why are you doing it?
Yeah. I'm interested to see here tonight who's actually watching, who's resonating with what we're talking about, and who agrees with what they're hearing. Because, I mean, is it something that you've personally, encountered? Are you focusing on this part of your life as well? Because it's really important. That's why we really wanted to bring it to our event next weekend. Really just open up the Pandora box, if that's what you want to call it. And let's just really delve in deep, because we really truly believe, anything is possible. The word limitless keeps on coming to my mind, Grace, and I don't know why. When I'm looking at you, just limitless, and I just feel like anything is possible. Can you talk on that? Like, because I feel that people are still listening and they're like, yeah, but I've got these boundaries, and I've got the kids, I got the 2 dogs. Like, is life truly limitless? Is it, or is it not?
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I'm a living proof. Everything is, there is no limit, really. The only limit is you. You only limit yourself. You limit your mindset, you limit your risk, sure, we only have one life here, but again, you know, with the attitude, you might as well live the best that you could do. I mean, who wants to be, you know, when you do like personal development courses, they always ask you, how do you want to be seen, or how do you want to see yourself in your deathbed or in your funeral? You know, it's if we learn to reverse engineer and how we live our life, we would never limit ourselves, would we? We would do what we want to do. When you look at the army, for example, the military, how they plan their things, I'm sure they reverse engineer everything in terms of how they strategize, how they're going to conquer the enemy, and blah 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 and so forth. So for me, when I'm in my deathbed, I don't want to regret anything.
Yeah.
Seriously, I don't want to regret anything. Again, the only thing that limits me is myself, and the programming, the conditioning that I've accepted in myself. That's it. And to me, it's like, free your mind. I always, you know, talk to others, share with others, free your mind, because you're the one that can free your mind. No one else can do it for you. We have so many gurus these days we can listen to. We just tap of our fingertips, YouTube, everything, TikTok even has got all these influencers, and they've got these great memes that we read, and we have affirmations each day. But at the end of the day, when you're at home alone and by yourself, are you actually doing it? Are you limiting yourself? So, yeah, again, you know, that's how I see it. It's just, actually, it's that simple.
Yeah, making it more simple than complex, right? The world wants to complicate everything. But what you said before, you're either doing something in fear or you're doing it in love. And, you know, that's it. There's no middle ground. So it's really important to know that.
I just want to add that. I just want to add, Jasmine, that, you know, it's important that, you know, we all heard about this, that, you know, who you hang out with, you become.
Yeah.
And because you want to be resonating, like-minded. And so I just want to say, honestly, you guys, Jasmine, Mike and Connor, seriously, these guys are fabulous to hang out with. They're awesome people, and I love working with these guys. They're excellent in what they do. And you guys are bee's knees in everything that you do. You give everything out to the team as well as the clients. And for those who are listening here, I can honestly say that these guys, they give you all the love that they have and all the effort and everything that they have. They actually give everything to everyone that they serve, and it's wonderful to actually see and witness it.
Thanks for those kind words, Grace. I'll just add on to that, on what you said about, if you want to hang around people, you'll become like them. For anyone wondering how to be a better golf player, don't come play golf with me and Mike, because we'll probably drag your score down.
Good to know. That's a really hot tip, because no one wants to waste their time doing that, to be honest.
Right, no golf slander on a Wednesday night webinar. Thanks, Jazz.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's awesome. All right, we do have a question for you, Grace, and Marguerite wants to know how you detach from an animal that you love.
Sure. I mean, when you look at the definition of love, what is love? I mean, just to summarize it, because we could be here for days talking about love. When you summarize in a human love, it's all about chemistry, isn't it? We're made of chemistry. We need that dopamine hit. We need that pleasure that gives us the kick. And so to me, that in my own definition and my own experience, because I love my dog as well, who's not with me. He's actually with my son. And that love is that the attachment, which becomes the human side of us that we don't want to let go. But if we have true unconditional love, what's the saying? What is the saying that if it's true love, you're able to let go. You're able to let go and allow them to be free. And if it's true love, they come back to you. So the love for the animals is, at the end of the day, it's, again, firstly, the rule of thumb is loving yourself first, before anything else or anyone or whatever around you. So, getting, what was that question again?
How do you detach yourself from a dog, an animal you love?
Sure. So the detachment in terms of that is that you able to see what is it that you're attached to your animal as well. You know, you got to look at what's attached. What is the attachment in you? Why is it something that you don't want to let go? What is your motivation not letting go of that, the love of the animal?
Yeah.
So you got to really dig deep in asking all these questions. And what is your attachment? What's your trigger? What's your thinking of the loss? What is the loss? Or is there something that happened to you as a child that you have you're scared of losing the animal, and that you're scared of losing the love, that you're scared of whatever your fear is? So you've got to ask all these questions and start digging in yourself, and in order to start freeing that, because true love really is that no matter what happens to your animal, they're always with you, really always, isn't it? Whether it's your dog, whether it's your children, whether it's business, whatever, true love it never disappears. It's always there.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh, goodness. I could talk about animals all day, so we don't want to start this topic. Darren and Marguerite, you know, I've got 2 dogs and we'll be here for a couple of hours. No, but in all fairness as well, you know, next week when we do present, and Mike is going to be presenting a lot deeper into this. I guess, Mike, up until next week when you're going to present, and I hope everyone's coming, the team are going to post in the comments again our link and for our event, so you can purchase it and come along virtually or in person. I think it closes today in person. So if you're in Perth, you need to purchase the ticket today so we can cater for you. Mike, let's say you wake up, okay? You roll out of bed, you're like, yay, today's the day. Then you roll your ankle, okay? And then you fall over, and then you get up, and as you get up, you hit the dog because the dog's in your way, and then you want to just cry. Yeah, and then you're like, that's it, I'm going to go to the coffee machine, I'm going to make my coffee, my life's going to get better now. And then all of a sudden you run out of coffee beans, right? So you know those mornings that everything's just like not panning out, okay? And then you're like, you know what, I'm just going to go check the letterbox. And then you go check the letterbox, and then there's a letter from the ATO, and it's like, hey, you've got a really beautiful bill coming your way. And you're like, could anything get, you know, any better today? Who understands what I'm talking about? Who's had those mornings? Because I've had those mornings, not the ATO part, but I've had those mornings. And I guess for me, I just really want to understand, and I'm sure other people, in that moment, what is it that you can do, number 1, to calm yourself? Number 2, how can you change your state of mind when you're really under pressure and you're stressed out? And thirdly, is this something that we need to practice over time, like, you know, a muscle at the gym, and, you know, get stronger and stronger? Maybe this question is just for me and no one else really needs an answer. I don't know, but
I like Suzanne's response.
Me too.
Go back to bed. Yeah.
I really think that's perfect. But who relates? We've all had those moments. We're human and we go through it.
Well, yeah. I mean, what's the lesson in all those things? You should ask yourself. Yeah, why's the dog under your feet? Why's the dog in your bed? Why'd you let the coffee run out? Nah, but I think it just comes out, like you said, it is training. First thing I think that everyone needs the one skill that everyone needs to master is being able to clear their mind. You know, be able to clear out all the voices and just sit in silence with nothing in their mind. Not only does that help you feel centered and a lot more calm, and everything else not feel present and all that kind of thing, but it's also where you can access, you know, the quantum realm, and where you can actually, you know, input and imprint things into there to reprogram yourself. That's where you can access information in the form of downloads and you know, structured remote viewing and that kind of thing. So that all starts with literally just being able to listen to, you know, just focus on your breathing, get consistent with your breathing. Most people can't breathe consistently because they're always in that fight or flight response from the moment they wake up. It's that constant overthinking of things that are, you know, in the future or in the past. But again, it all comes back to again, being overly attached to things that are out of your control, attaching things or attaching identity importance to external things. Again, coming back into that being able to be, center yourself and reflect and know who you are and actually calm your mind and all that kind of thing. That's going to be the number one thing I think that people can train. And that doesn't, like you said, that doesn't happen instantly. It takes time. I think the biggest thing with things like meditation and why a lot of people get put off meditation is because of exactly that. Like when they start doing it, they are really uncomfortable sitting in silence. A lot of people need like background noise to get to go to sleep, or even when they're just doing work, they need background noise. They need the stereo, like the radio on when they're in the car. So yeah, just learning to sit with your own thoughts, get used to like hearing your own voice in your own head, and again, how you talk to yourself. What are the things that you're constantly thinking about and talking to yourself about? Because I think when you can become, like when you can become really sort of self-aware, hyper self-aware of that, that's when you can start to really sort of reprogram yourself and transform.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because let's be real, I would like for you to put in the comments before you get out of bed and you maybe practice that self-talk or, just calming yourself, who goes to their phone or social media straight away? And you have to be honest, because I find that the days that I don't do that and I have some sort of a, kind of moment of just gratitude and just say, all right, today's going to be a good day, I'm setting myself up, I have a much better day. So let's have a look what everyone's saying here. Are we being honest, or are we all, there we go. Oh, Darren's dobbing in his wife. That's so naughty. You're in the bad books tonight, I can tell you that much. Amber, yep, okay, so we're all doing that. It's the new alcohol and cigarettes, the snooze button. Vic, okay, multiple times. Well, Grace, what about you? And Connor and Mike, since everyone else is being honest.
No, I don't. I actually don't. Like, I mean, the morning, as soon as you wake up and as soon as when you're about to fall asleep, they're the most powerful times to manifest, because you're naturally in a true theta state. So if the first thing you do when you're in that powerful theta state where you can bridge your subconscious mind into that quantum realm is reach for your phone and reach for social media and start scrolling through the chaos of everyone else's lives. You're imprinting into your subconscious that chaos is now your default, right? So your external world, like you said, when you do it on those days you do it, your day is chaotic, right? Because you've literally told your subconscious from that moment you wake up that your day, your mindset is default is chaos. So
I mean, for me personally, I prefer to do energy work at 6 o'clock my time, 6 a.m. actually I start, or 6:30. The person that I do it with, the lady is here, so we start really early. I used to start in summer. I start 5:30 in the morning, do energy work, and I prefer to use it to actually work early in the morning, because you just can't, as Mike said, you're in that state, you just woke up, you kind of that waking up, still sleepy kind of mode. That's when you're really in your element. And so for me, I don't hit the snooze button. I actually get up. I used to, it's just winter, I get up a little bit later. But in summer, I normally get up.
Let us know what time it really is.
I'll get up at 4 in the morning, or sometimes I get up 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning and just do meditation. It's just the way I'm made up myself. I'm used to, actually, I do a lot of energy work because I do a lot of things, and I work with a lot of people. It's just part of my discipline. I've just been doing it for years. So it just really, depending on, again, your highest values, and part of it for me, the energy work, starting early is, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Connor, you're going to ask the next question.
I just wanted to quickly throw it as well. I thought that was really good, Mike, the way you put that about the first thing when you're in that state scrolling through social media, because I think a lot of us are aware it's not good for you, but hearing it broken down like that, it's the first thing getting kind of forced into your face is an interesting perspective. So I'll jump in and I'll ask the next question. I'll leave it open for Mike and Grace, and even you, Jazz, if you got some feedback on this. But the next question is, what books or guidance can one read for finding their new career? Feeling a bit lost and need help freeing the creative juices or getting out of my own head. Stupid mandates, laugh out loud.
Mandates are stupid. Yep.
Yeah, interesting. I'll just go with my books, the main books that have really changed me. The book that really sort of cascaded my energetic experience was The Celestine Prophecy. When I read that, weird things started to happen, exactly how the book says it does. And then The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. That's probably the next one. And The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. They're probably my top three for understanding and learning it all.
Did you say Joseph Murphy? I'm just putting them in the group chat.
Yeah, Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And then The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. They're all, it's quite a hard read. It's pretty like mentally draining, but just really good to learn the science around it. Because I think when you learn the science around it, it starts to, I really struggled in the beginning because I could feel it, but because my head couldn't really process it because I can't see it, right? And I think that's where a lot of people do struggle with the whole idea of the etheric body and energy and clearings. I mean, everyone can feel clearings and see manifestations and things like that, but because they can't like actually physically see it in their own sense, they really struggle to understand it. So I think when you learn the science around it and learn that it's actually it's not just kind of woo woo, it becomes a lot easier and makes more sense.
That's awesome. What do you think, Grace?
My answer to that, and that's great, Mike. Those books are actually marvelous. The Holographic Universe, I will totally agree with you, Mike. It really is like a head spinner, that one.
Yeah.
And they're all great books. Working with people over the years, doing guidance and coaching and mentoring other people as well. Really, first thing I would do with people is that finding out who you are. Finding out what you love to do, find out the things that gets your juice going, that you lose time. And so there's two tests I recommend. I'm a facilitator for Dr. John Demartini. So if you guys go into his website, Dr. John Demartini, he's actually got a questionnaire values. And so you answer a set of questions about your highest values, because we're all motivated by what is our highest values. And when you work out what your highest values are, then you start really eliminating the things that you don't like, because subconsciously we've been programmed and conditioned. And so we tend to go into a field of career that, hey, mum and dad has said something to us, but it's not something that does, gets our juices happening, right? So you really get to know who you are, what you are. So the values testing is free on the website with Dr. Demartini, and working that out. And the second one I would highly recommend, this one is there's a fee happening, but it's up to you. It's The Wealth Dynamics by Roger Hamilton. And the Wealth Dynamics tells you exactly where you are, how you are, and it gives you guidance on, your flow, what energizes you, how you work as a team. And so really get to know who you are, get to know what makes you tick, and those things. So to me, that's your first fundamentals, the foundations. To find that career, you go within yourself first, and then go out externally. That's my difference.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And just so you know, I put the links in there too, Grace, that you just discussed. And the Wealth Dynamics. Yeah, the Wealth Dynamics, if you do want to do it, I highly recommend. The whole team, we just redid all of ours. And boy, oh boy, did it really clear things up for, who we are and what we're really here to do. And there is a code, I believe, that works, is Wealth30. You can try it. If you don't, we don't have any affiliation in terms of making money or anything like that. That's just something that we discovered through using it ourselves. So yeah, I think this has been great. And I love how everyone's really shared about themselves. The energy tonight has been awesome. Graham has said he's just booked his ticket for July 16th. So we really look forward to having you. And I really appreciate everyone's time tonight and honesty. And, Mike, I know that you've really had a big career change. You've given up your job. You've gone into this. So you're living proof of what you preach. You're not just, there and then on Centrelink in the background. You're really living it. And, it's such a blessing to have you as a part of the team. And Connor, once again, you're a superstar. And Grace, you are an absolute angel. And, we're so appreciative of all your experience. So I think we're going to wrap up tonight. I'm going to get the link put in here again tonight. Do we have any final questions before we wrap it up? Because we tend to like to keep it to around the 45-minute mark. Is there anything we would like to say or share? Secure your spot here. Thank you. All right. I'll just give a moment. Is there anything anyone would like to say to wrap it up? Oh yeah, if you could just put the, it's just above there, Robin. The booking link is just above, but I'll just copy and paste for you. Let's see if I'm good at that. Anyone want to add anything to close off tonight?
Well, for me personally, I just want to thank everyone here for, for listening and attending all our webinars and everything that, I just want to let you know personally that all the money that comes into our companies, we utilize it to, again, to expand our sovereignty. What our message is to build this community, to build this sovereign community. And we start with Australia and go global. So everything that we put in, anything that you put in the money into the company, that's our solid foundation. That's our mindset to, it's not just for us and it's not just for myself or Warren, but it's also for the team and also for everyone here is involved in the company. So I really, really want to, I'm so grateful and thank you so much for having your trust on us and the team and really giving us a go and again, giving us feedback, whether positive, negative, or it doesn't matter. It's a feedback. Feedback is a feedback. And again, I really appreciate having your trust and giving us your business. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Connor, you want any last words?
No, just probably a thanks to Mike and Grace and obviously yourself, Jazz, as well. It's been me and Warren heading up the last few weeks, but I feel like tonight's been a really nice change of energy. And I think everyone that's commenting right now has also enjoyed that change of energy. So thanks for bringing a unique perspective to it. I think this is something a lot of people undervalue and they miss within themselves. And we've really seen that over the last 2 years with how fragile a lot of people's mental states are. So Grace is also going to be live at the event. So if you're coming down in person, Grace is also going to be there. I hope you're still coming, Grace. Otherwise, I'll just put you on the spot.
I am.
Perfect.
I'm
having dinner with you guys.
It'll be a lot of fun. And I'm excited to hear what Mike's got to say as well. So I think it's going to be a really unique presentation. So no pressure, Mike, but, I've got high hopes for it.
Yeah, Mike, no pressure. You just got the whole day to yourself. And you know what? I just want to finish off with this. I'm putting a challenge out here to every single person that is left. If you are someone that has been waking up and you're going straight to that chaos on your phone, I challenge you for the next week, and we're going to check in next Wednesday, and I'm going to hold you accountable and myself. Just practice something different, like what Mike said before. Don't go straight to that chaos. Go within yourself. Have that moment of silence and, really set yourself up and come along to the event so you can really learn more of that practice. Is that all right for everyone? Can everyone commit to that?
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm waiting for Darren to dob Marguerite in next week. That's what's going to happen. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming tonight. We've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Grace. Thanks, Connor. Thank you to you all.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.